Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Dan the Fix-It Man. Got another quick video here for you. I'm going to show you how to change your rear brake pads on a 2010 Chrysler Town Country Minivan. Now, because this is the rear, we're not able to compress the piston the traditional way of just a C-clamp or prying with a screwdriver. So first we need to take the caliper off. And to do so, there are two bolts, one up here and one down here. And those are 13 millimeter or 1/2 inch. That's what that bolt looks like. Okay, once you take out those caliper bolts, then you can just kind of pry or wedge something in here and try to pull this caliper off. Sometimes they come off easier than others. Also, it's a good idea to make sure your parking brake is off. I did just make sure that this one was off, or it's hard to take these off. There we go. In order to push this caliper piston back inside, it's a little bit trickier than your traditional caliper piston. You can see it's got these little V notches or V grooves on the top and bottom of that face of that caliper there. And so what we need to do is find in our kit here, I'll show you, this is the kit that I've got. I got this on Amazon. It was pretty inexpensive, and I recommend you pick one up. But you just find one of these little discs that matches, has these two little knobs right here that fit right into those the grooves in that face of that caliper. And then you just line this up. Let me see if I can get it started here. I'm just going to pull this pad out of the way, the old pad. I'm just going to take out the inboard pad here as well, just to give us a little bit more room. And just remember, that's got the little noise maker on the inside there. But on this kit, it comes with two different threaded rods. One is a right-hand thread, one is a left-hand thread. The number that I'm using here in the kit is a number 6, and that's the one that seems to line up the best here. And then you just tighten this little part right here up against the outside edge of the caliper, and then you just turn this. There, we kind of got to break it free at first, and then give it a few turns, and then you're going to want to keep backing this sleeve out as you turn it. By the way, that's a 7/8 wrench if you want to throw a wrench on there. Now, before you do this, it's a good idea to take the master cylinder cap off, which I've already done. I did the front brakes on this same vehicle here as well. And there's still lots of room in that master cylinder for the brake fluid that's coming through backwards right now. I've done plenty of these rear brakes without this tool. So I even have a video just grabbing that with channel locks and turning it. It's definitely easier with this tool, because even with the channel locks or something where you're able to grab that edge and turn it, you still need to press the caliper in, and this tool does both at the same time. Again, I'll put a link in the description to my website with a link to this tool. We'll just keep turning that until it's completely pushed back in. That's right about there. And then we can remove this tool. It's kind of hard moving this caliper around while it's still connected to the parking brake cable, but just going to kind of let that sit down there for right now. Now, a lot of these brake kits come with the new little metal clips, and as long as they're clean, not rusty or not falling apart, you know, that's really the key. As long as they're doing their job, that's the important part. But it is important to grease them, and the way I do that is really just by putting grease on this little tab, and that will not only keep the brakes quiet, but it also allows that pad to move inside that little slot of the caliper bracket. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this Sil Glide brake grease or brake lube on the back here. Just a couple little dots. That's what that stuff looks like. Again, I'll put a link in the description to that as well. and just kind of smear a thin layer on the back, and then a little amount here on the end. Just don't get any on the face of the pad. And then again, you know, this is these little spots right here. If you can, put a little bit of grease in there as well, will help. And you know, these clips, you just don't want the brake caliper binding in there. And as long as they're clean or clean enough and still holding up, it's not really necessary, in my opinion, to pull them out and replace them. But we can just slide the new pads in. Same thing on the outboard pad here. Get a little bit of grease there. I mention this stuff in a lot of my videos. I was hoping they might send me some. But there's your new pad, and we can put that in here as well. And just kind of get it started, kind of at an angle, and then just press it on there. And then we'll just kind of make sure that's in there. It's in there nice and snug, but it's not binding up. So that's really the main goal here in these little channels. Make sure that that can still move side to side. Now we can pull our caliper back on here. And these little slide pins, you know, sometimes it's a good idea to pop those out and clean them and grease them. Let's take a look at this one here. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and clean that up. I'm going to wipe that up and then put some of that same grease on there before we put the caliper back on. Same with the bottom one here. I know I don't do this on all of my videos, but just kind of wanted to show you what those look like. If you just kind of gently pull on that, it'll come out. So we'll just clean that off with a little bit of brake clean on a paper towel. Get that nice and clean, and then we'll just put on some more of that Sil Glide. Just like that, a nice little gob of that stuff, and then just kind of smooth that around, spread that around that pin, and then turn that and go ahead and put it right back in until that boot snaps in place. Same with the upper one here. Got that all cleaned up and greased up, and just pull that on there. Then we can put our caliper back on, and usually got to pull on these slide pins just to get that caliper lined up right. Now we can put the caliper bolts back in. Sometimes when you're tightening these, the slide pin will turn as well, and sometimes they don't. They hold on pretty well. But go ahead and check your manual on the torque spec on those, but just make them tight in the meantime. If I get a chance to look that up, I'll throw that in the description as well. And you're done. Just remember to step on the brake pedal a couple times, and maybe even your parking brake a couple times as well, which will push that caliper piston back out where it needs to be, pushing those pads firmly against the rotor and adjust it properly. I hope you liked the video. Please like and subscribe if you did. Thanks so much for watching, and good luck.